There's a kind of wealth nobody ever mails you a statement for, and in retirement, it may matter more than the money ever does. Some folks call it social capital. I just think of it as the people who'd actually show up. And here's what trips people up. It was never about how many. You can be surrounded by a crowd, 500 friends, a packed calendar, always out at something, and still feel lonely as a lighthouse the moment the lights go down. A big crowd isn't closeness. Half the time it's just noise. When you were working, most of your people came pre-installed. Co-workers, clients, the folks from the job. Then you retire, the crowd thins almost overnight, and the instinct is to fill that silence with more. More clubs, more acquaintances, more noise. I watched a guy retire and immediately joined 6 committees. 6. He was busier than he'd ever been at work, surrounded by people around the clock, and quietly miserable because not one of those 6 things was actually his. Volume was never the answer. That you don't need more people. You need a handful of the right ones, the few whose absence you'd feel in your bones if they ever drifted away. So today, let's cut through the noise and get down to the 7 people worth keeping close, the ones who deserve more of your time and a whole lot more of your appreciation than they probably get. Stick around for number 5 especially, because it's the one almost nobody thinks to plan for and the one that quietly saves lives. Let's get into it. Number 1, the truth teller. Every retiree needs exactly one person who is completely, sometimes annoyingly, unimpressed with them. You spent 40 years building a reputation. You were the boss, the expert, the one who ran the department, and everybody laughed at your jokes because you signed the checks. Hard truth, a lot of those laughs retired the same day you did. They didn't come with you. The truth teller never got the memo that you're supposed to be handled gently now. When you announce you're putting 90% of your savings into your nephew's cryptocurrency startup, they don't say, wow, follow your heart. They say, have you lost your mind? Your nephew still owes you $40 from the 4th of July. That person is worth more than a financial advisor. An advisor tells you what's smart. The truth teller tells you what's true, for free, over coffee, before you've done something you can't undo. And here's why they matter more now than ever. When you were working, reality pushed back on you all day long. The day you retire, all of that goes quiet, and suddenly you can be wrong for weeks with nobody to stop you. The catch is you have to actually let them do it. When they push back, the temptation is to get huffy, decide they're negative, and quietly stop inviting them until you're left with people who only ever tell you you're right. That's not a friend group, that's a hall of mirrors. Don't build one. And here's the thing, these people get rarer with age, not more common. The older you get, the more everyone around you tips toward telling you what you want to hear, because it's easier and you seem set in your ways. So the one who still looks you in the eye and says, no, that's a bad idea. That's not a nuisance, that's a treasure. Hang on to them. If a truth teller just popped into your head, call them this week. Don't lead with a favor, just talk. Number 2, the scout. The scout is somebody 5 to 10 years ahead of you on the exact same road. You've had a scout for every big phase of life without noticing. First kid, you call the friend who already had kids. First house, you ask the person who knew that motivated seller means the roof is haunted. Then you hit retirement and somehow decide you have to figure it out from scratch, alone, like a pioneer crossing the plains. You don't. Somebody retired 7 years before you, made every mistake available to a human being, and is sitting on a pile of hard-won wisdom they'd love to hand over because nobody ever asks. The scout tells you the stuff that's in no brochure, that the first 6 months feel like a vacation, and then month 7 hits like a truck, and you have a small existential crisis in the cereal aisle. They normalize the weird parts. You go, is it normal that I planned my entire Tuesday around one trip to the hardware store? And they go, oh, completely. Give it a month and you'll be treating the pharmacy run like a moon launch. Snacks packed, radio on, back roads mapped. Enjoy it. And that one little exchange does something no brochure ever could. It tells you you're not broken, you're just 3 months in. When you're quietly worried something's wrong with you, that is worth its weight in gold. How do you find one? You ask. Find somebody a few years ahead who actually seems content, not miserable, and say, can I buy you lunch and ask you some dumb questions about all this? I've never seen anyone say no. People are dying to be asked. Number 3, the younger friend. This one comes with a warning label because there's a lazy version and I need you to skip it. The lazy version, get a younger friend so they can fix your phone. Hard no. A younger person is not your unpaid IT department. And if the only time you reach out is when the Wi-Fi's acting up, that's not a friendship, that's a help desk ticket. The younger friend is a real friendship with somebody 20 or 30 years younger, and its value has almost nothing to do with gadgets. It's that a good younger friend keeps you current, not just with technology, but with the whole world as it's actually moving. The music, the slang that makes zero sense until somebody explains it, the trends, the way the culture keeps shifting under your feet. Here's the quiet thing that happens in retirement, and it's not about age, it's about exposure. At work, you bump into new stuff by accident all day. Then you retire, that stops. And little by little, your world just stops updating. One day you catch yourself becoming that person, the one who's decided everything good already happened and everything new is nonsense. A younger friend is the cure. They pull you into the present, talk you into the restaurant you'd never have tried, put you onto a band you end up loving, and, bonus, quietly teach you to text like a human being instead of like you're composing a ransom note in all caps. They keep you curious, and curiosity is the most youthful thing a person can have going. It's got nothing to do with your knees. And it runs both ways. You're not the sad little project. You hand them something they can't get anywhere else. Perspective. You've already lived through the exact thing they're lying awake over, and you can say, I've been there. Here's what happens next. That's worth a fortune. How do you make a friend 30 years younger without it being weird? Shared activity. The pickleball league, the class, the volunteer crew where you just genuinely hit it off. You don't announce, I am seeking a younger friend. Please don't. You show up somewhere, stay open, and let it happen sideways. Number 4, the fiduciary. Every retiree needs one professional in their corner whose paycheck does not depend on selling you things. Say the magic word slowly. Fee-only fiduciary. Fee-only means they charge a flat or hourly rate, like a lawyer. No commission on the products they steer you into. Fiduciary means they're legally required to put your interests ahead of their own paycheck. Because here's what makes me nuts. There's a whole industry of friendly, well-dressed people who buy you a free steak dinner and explain why you should move your entire nest egg into something called Freedom Legacy Annuity Plus, which just happens to pay them a commission the size of a used car. I'm not saying they're crooks. Most have convinced themselves they're helping. But nice and on your side aren't the same thing, and the free steak is never free. You are the steak. The fiduciary is the antidote, the person you can sit across from, put your whole scary financial picture on the table and ask, am I going to be okay? And trust the answer is about you, not their quarterly numbers. Quick reality check. I'm a guy on the internet, not your advisor, and this isn't personal financial advice. But finding a real fee-only fiduciary is one of the highest return moves in retirement, and it's cheaper than most people fear, sometimes a few $100 for a couple hours of honest, unconflicted advice. Best money you'll spend all year.
Number 5, the reliable neighbor. You need at least one person close enough to your daily life that if you suddenly went quiet, they'd notice fast and actually do something about it. It doesn't have to be the person literally next door, though that's the classic version. It's whoever your normal week naturally runs into. The neighbor, the friend who calls every morning, the sister across town who expects to hear from you. The label isn't the point. The point is proximity plus attention, someone whose routine overlaps with yours enough that your silence would stick out. And I know that sounds a little grim, so let me be plain about why it matters. As you get older, especially if you live alone, and more of us do, the biggest factor in a health scare usually isn't the scare itself. It's time. How many hours pass before somebody realizes something's wrong and picks up a phone? A fall can be a scary story with a happy ending if help comes in an hour. It's a tragedy if nobody checks for 3 days. The reliable neighbor is the person who closes that gap. Now, the good news, this is the easiest one on the whole list to set up because it's really just one small repeating habit. The neighbor you wave to over coffee every morning, the friend you text still standing, the cat's furious to at 9, the walking buddy you meet at 7 whether you feel like it or not. Build one little ritual where your absence would get noticed. That's the whole thing. So here's the one thing to take from this. If there's nobody in your life right now who'd notice within a day or two if you went silent, that is the most important gap on this entire list. Everything else can wait. Number 6, the fun coach. Every retiree needs a friend who is, frankly, a bit of a menace, in the best way. The fun coach is the one who will not let you become furniture. Here's what happens, slowly enough that you don't see it. Retirement removes every force that used to yank you out of the house. No commute, no meetings, no coworker's birthday card to buy. And without those forces, an astonishing number of perfectly healthy people gradually shrink their whole world down to the recliner, the TV, and a well-worn path to the refrigerator. It's not depression necessarily, it's just drift. The couch is patient, it'll wait for you 20 years.
The fun coach refuses to let that happen. This is the friend who calls and says, "Get dressed, we're going to that thing," and won't take "I don't feel like it" as an answer, because they know "I don't feel like it" is how it starts. They say, "Road trip on a Wednesday. You'll grumble the whole way there and then have the best afternoon you've had in a month," and refuse to admit it. My favorite version is the friend who books the thing and just tells you afterward. No RSVP, no debate. "Cleared your Saturday, we're doing the pottery class. You're welcome." Menace. Absolute menace. Thank goodness for them. One honest note, because I keep it real here, sometimes what looks like drift is something heavier, and no friend fixes a real depression by dragging you to a barbecue. If the not wanting to do anything has teeth to it and it's been weeks, that's a conversation for a doctor. No shame in it at all. But for the ordinary gravitational pull of the couch, the fun coach is the cure. Find yours, and if you don't have one, be one for somebody else. Number 7, the optimist. This last one sounds like a personality type, not a role. Trust me, it's a role. The optimist genuinely believes the best stuff hasn't happened yet. And I have to be precise because there's a fake version I don't want you collecting. The optimist is not the relentlessly chipper person who meets every piece of bad news with "everything happens for a reason." You mention your knee's been bothering you, they chirp, "Well, at least you have a knee." That person you can send straight home. The real optimist has been through things. They've buried people. They've had the scary appointment. They know exactly how heavy life gets, and they still wake up curious about what's around the corner. That's not naivety. It's a decision they make every morning, and it's one of the most powerful forces you can stand next to. Here's why you need one in retirement. There's a subtle, nasty little voice that whispers the big chapters are all behind you now. Career, house, kids raised, all in the rear view, and what's left is just maintenance. That voice is a liar, but it's persuasive when you're alone on a Tuesday. The optimist is the antidote. Say, "I'm too old to start that," and they look at you like you're being ridiculous. Too old? You've got 20, 30 good years, longer than some entire careers. Sign up. You show up tired and a little cynical, and somehow you leave making plans. And that pull is real. It works both directions. Spend an afternoon with somebody who's decided the best is behind them, and you walk out a shade grayer than you walked in. Spend it with an optimist, and you leave lighter, taller, already scheming about next spring. One caution: optimism is a wonderful companion and a terrible financial planner. The optimist keeps your spirit pointed forward. They do not get a vote on whether that annuity is a good idea. That's the truth tellers department. Keep them in their lanes. How do you find one? You already know who they are. Ask yourself, who do I leave feeling like the future is bigger than I thought? That's your optimist. Point yourself their way more often. And if you can't name a single one, now you know the most important seat to fill. Here's what I want you to actually do with this, because a video you just nod along to changed nothing. Run the list one more time and be honest about which chairs are empty. Most people have 3 or 4 covered without realizing it, but almost everybody's got a gap or 2, and now you know exactly which. And here's the beautiful part. Every one of these is something you can be for somebody else. You're somebody's scout. You could be somebody's reliable neighbor starting this week. The fastest way to get all 7 of these people into your life is to quietly become some of them for the people around you. It comes back around. It always does. You spent your whole working life saving up for retirement. This is the other account, the one nobody puts on a statement, the one that pays out in the moments that actually make life worth living. Fund that one too. If this hit home, drop a comment telling me which of the 7 you need to work on. I read them, and you're not the only one who picked that one. Like the video so it finds the next person who needs it. And if you're not subscribed, come on, we've clearly got things to talk about. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of your people.